We're back with another episode of Women in Business Wednesday, and this is my girl Azure.
Hi.
She is a financial planner, advisor,
Either one.
all of it. She is in the business of helping you with your money. And so we have her here today to kind of tell us, like, how did you get started? You have, like, a very good story. So I want women to know, like, why it's important, first of all, to have your money in order. And secondly, how you got started in this. Like, what was your driving force?
Okay, so I'll have to answer that a little bit backwards. The reason is I started in this business was because I was in the military at first and thought I was going to, do 20 years. And they were like, yeah, just do 20 years and you'll be fine. And I looked and I said, if I do 20 years, I'm going to end up eating cat food and living by candlelight because it's not enough. You'll still have to get another job. And I met my financial advisor, and we started talking, and he helped me get myself together because all I had was like savings bonds in the beginning. And once he showed me, hey, you need to have life insurance, you need to have this, you need to have a plan and goals, I was like, okay. So then I started watching my account grow. And then I realized that the military was no longer for me. So when I got ready to get out and transition, he was like, you should be a financial advisor. And I looked at him and was like,
No,
not me. I'll let you do it. And he's like, no, you really have it. And because my passion is the fact that I used to think I couldn't afford a financial advisor. But then I realized I couldn't afford not to have one. Because people who already have money, they've been trained, they've been groomed, they know what to do. People who are like military, civil servants, things like that, they don't know because for one, they're like, I'm barely making it. I might be making $45,000 a year and I don't have time for anything else. I just need to do this. But in all actuality, later on I have a client who he never made more than $40,000 a year. But he's a millionaire because he was consistent. He kept putting $25 every paycheck, and every time he got extra money, he put it in his account. He built up his savings, his investments, everything. So when he got ready to retire, he retired at 65. So he didn't retire early, but at 65, considering somebody who never made over $40,000, he can now live off of his principal. And it was just because he was, consistent and patient and went from there. And I think it's important because a lot of people just live like paycheck to paycheck. And then when you're ready to retire, have no clue, besides Social Security, what they're going to try to have. And then, you think about Social Security, the government plays around with it so much that they've already told me I won't get full Social Security. And in the end, I have to keep working until I think 70 to get to a certain amount.
Like 72, whatever.
Yeah, and so they keep moving the goalposts. And if that's something that you're relying on, then you need to maneuver. So what I do is I sit down with people and look and say, okay, tell me your goals. And where do you want to be? Where like I asked you, I was like, no, tell me what you want to do. Now let's put a date next to it. Because the important thing is when you can say I'm going to do something all the time, but it becomes real when you write it down, and then it becomes real when you have to put a date by it and say, look, I'm holding myself accountable to this. So, when I meet with clients, I ask them, tell me what's important to you. And then I'm going to show you how to get there. But this is how we're going to do it. And then I make them kind of commit to it because it's just like you and I were talking about fitness and everything else.
We'll get back to that.
Yeah. I keep moving the goalposts on that one. Like, well, do I really need to lose? But with retirement, and even not just retirement, for me, when my daughter gets married, I want to be able to pay for her wedding. So I put things like that, and I told her, I said, don't get married anytime soon, but I want to be able to help you pay for this at that time. So it's just different things, and a lot of people don't realize, they think it's just investments. It's really not. You have your investments, you have your life insurance, because believe it or not, a lot of people do not have adequate life insurance. They don't have adequate coverage. and then they find out, their family finds out the hard way, and then they're trying to do a GoFundMe account or something like that. Actually, life insurance can be used to create generational wealth. So you can try to make sure that, your kids, your grandkids don't go through the same things that you went through. So you can actually put them in a better predicament than...
Nosy. That's Teddy trying to come in.
There before. So, you have that. Then you have your investments. And you have your savings. And the reason it's important to have your savings is so you won't pull from your insurance or from your investments. It's there. So when an emergency comes up, the tire on the car goes out, the air conditioning system goes out. You have that money. It's there. It's available. And once you have those things set, you have peace of mind.
That's awesome. So I know, like, when we first met, and I was like, girl, don't judge me on my credit. Like,
you were nowhere near where you thought you were. I was like, I'm good.
What do you tell women who are afraid? Because it's kind of like, oh, I got a financial planner. It kind of makes it seem like you have it all together, and it's kind of scary. Like, I know it was scary for me to step out and be like, hey, can you help me with this? Because I didn't think I was in a good place. And
then we did the review.
Yeah, and it really was better than I thought. But what would you say, like, to a woman who is, like, maybe going through a divorce or maybe single and trying to get it together, and we're starting from zero, which I felt like I was like, I got nothing.
And you really weren't. But honestly, I had to start all over because I went through a divorce. So I lost everything. I had to start from scratch because, child, anyway, just make sure you are good to go with your assets. Love is great and all that, but make sure you have yours, because a divorce in the state of South Carolina will clean your clock if you make more money than he does. So, but what I have found out is a lot of women think, oh, I should have it together. I'm doing this job. I'm doing this.
Oh, it's him and he trying to. Come on, Nosy Rosie.
They think because, of the image they're portraying, that if they don't have their finances together, somebody's going to judge. I don't judge. And you just have to go in there and get started. And once you get started, then, it's like, all right, because when we talked before, you're like, well, I was thinking about starting my business. I was like, okay, let's put a date on it. Let's go ahead and get this done. So you can go there. Let's start branding you. Now look at you. So I'm just saying, once you take, it's the fear of the unknown. Mm-hmm. And then what I tell people all the time, even if you don't deal with me, find a financial advisor who has your best interests at heart, who knows you, and who's going to do, everything correctly for you. And then also that will teach you what you need to do, because if something happens, if I leave, I don't want them to go to another financial advisor and that person takes advantage of them. I want them to sit down and, like what we were talking about, when we looked and said, okay, this is what your investments are, this is what you're doing. You can look and realize, okay, this is what a large cap means, this is what a small cap means, and you're not sitting there thinking, oh God, they're speaking a foreign language. No. So I always try to educate as I help. And that's really it. But it's nothing to be embarrassed about at all.
Yeah, it was kind of scary. And then she was like, well, what kind of... I was like, I only felt proud because I was like, oh, I have that little acorns. And she was like, what kind of investor are you? I was like, what? Oh. What do you mean?
Yeah. So you have to know. But I taught you. I was like, this is the type of investor you are, and so this is what you can. This is the kind of returns you can look for, and you can either go up or down. But this is where you're at, and this is how you can maneuver around. And that to me is very important to know, male or female, but especially women, because believe it or not, women make better investors than men. It has been proven several times that if you give a woman and a man the same amount of money, same amount of time, and let them pick their investments, the woman's portfolio actually outperforms the male's portfolio every time. But women are scared to pull the trigger. However, once we do pull the trigger, we're good compared to men. It's just the fact that I think a lot of women think that, investments in Wall Street, things like that, that's a man's world and you stay out of it. No, you can get in there and make it happen.
That's awesome. And so, as far as investing and trying to figure out where to start, how do you make that first step? Like, besides, talking to a financial planner, doing your research, what are the best options for research?
Your best options for research are actually, you're going to sit down and talk with your advisor who's going to help you to figure out what type of investor you are. Once you figure out what type of investor you are, you start looking at those type of investments. And there's so many different ways. You can do mutual funds. You can do ETFs, which are exchange traded funds. You can do stocks. You can do bonds. And you figure out how you want your portfolio to look. And then, it's even to the point that if you don't want funds or stocks that deal with, things that we consider to be secular, and there are actually people who create mutual funds and things like that based off your religion. So you can set it up a lot of different ways, or your beliefs. So let's say you don't want to deal with anybody who deals with gun manufacturers. You can research those companies and actually build from there and go from there. So you can build your portfolio not only to match your needs, but to match your morals.
Oh, wow. Mm-hmm. That's interesting.
You just sit down with you sit down with the right person and go from there. Because some people, you have bad apples everywhere.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that the tree bears bad fruit. You just got a rotten apple every now and then. And so you just find the right one who's trying to do what's best for you.
And what should you look for in, when you're looking for a financial planner? What are some of the things that let you know, this person is educated, this person kind of knows what they're doing? You can,
because this industry is so highly regulated, you can type my name in under broker finder, and it's going to give you all of my history.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Everything that I have ever done or ever thought about doing, education-wise, business-wise, it's all there. So it'll even tell you the assets under management, because I own my own business now. It'll tell you how much, I did in returns and things like that. So it's very hard to hide if you're no good.
Okay.
So, you might have some shady people every now and then, but it's not going to take long before they give up, especially because of things like Bernie Madoff and everything else. FINRA and the SEC are very stringent on their advisors. So because we have to do what's best for the client, especially someone like me, I have a Series 65. Series 65 means that basically I have fiduciary responsibility to do what's right for you. So if all of a sudden you go from being a conservative investor to an aggressive investor, I have to notate and know why you did that. I can't just sit back and say, well, she wants to make crazy investments and say, okay, it's going to make money. I can't do that. I have to actually, it's a rule called Know Your Client, the Know Your Client rule. And I have to know you and figure out, okay, what's going on? Is this okay, or this might take over her account? Is something going on mentally? Whatever. It's very in-depth. If a complaint has ever been launched against a person, or if they've done anything unethical, it's going to be there in that FINRA. As soon as you hit FINRA broker lookup, it's there.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So this whole blog that I'm doing about women in business and, just stepping out there and starting your own thing, what advice would you give to someone like myself who was afraid to start their business, doesn't know about business credit, doesn't know basically their own financial standing? What advice would you give to a woman who's like, I think I want to start something, but I don't know?
Okay, so what I would say is, first of all, know what industry you're getting ready to go into. Research. And a lot of people get caught up thinking they have to go big. You really don't. You can start off small and grow from there. You do need to know that there is a such thing called business credit compared to personal credit, because a lot of people will go out and get personal loans and everything else, and they put themselves in debt trying to open up a business, whereas you need to get with your accountant. So you need to have a really good accountant who can help you figure out if you want to do an LLC, a sole proprietorship, a S corp, whatever, how it's going to work, because it's going to help you in the long run with taxes, things like that, and then also help you set up your DUNS number, your EIN, and then start building your credit on the business side, so you actually have business credit, and it will be completely separate from your personal credit. And you'll know whether you need a net 30 account, net 10, all these different things come into it, because based off of what you're doing and how you get that funding and how you keep going. So those are the things that you really need to pay attention to. And if you don't know how to do it, you can Google it, but I would suggest that you talk to someone who's there, who is knowledgeable about the subject, and ask for help. There's nothing wrong with asking for help. And one thing I found out with women is we usually support each other. Mm-hmm. You know, so if I know something, or if I know someone who knows something and help you out, I'll point that person in your direction and say, hey, you need to talk to this person, and then help build your business. You know, from there. I don't think that that anybody should ignore their calling because they think that industry is overcrowded. Because, you know, there's this picture that I look at. You go down the bread aisle, and it's all these different manufacturers of white sliced bread. So, you know, that reminds me that there's always room for me to do something that somebody else is doing, because I'm going to do it a little bit different. Mm-hmm. Same thing. When you're ready to go into business, don't be discouraged. If this is what is your passion, do it. And trust me, things will work out like they need. So you got to put some effort into it. It's going to be a lot of days that you work 12, 13-hour days, but it'll pay off.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, this is great. And if you want to contact Azure, tell them how to contact you. She's busy, but she'll make time.
You have to go to Panera Bread or whatever. If you need to contact me, the best number to contact me is 803-550-0894. My main office is in Orangeburg. However, like she said, I will meet you wherever I have to. I'll come to your house. We can go to lunch. We can do whatever, because my main purpose is to service the client and take care of them. So if they can't come to me, I definitely go to them. And, you know, you already know sometimes I don't. It's 7, 8 o'clock at night, and I'm like, okay, well, I gotta go to this appointment, and I'm gonna meet with this person and do this, and just go, and that's what you do, and that's the best way to contact me. If you wanted to, you can look me up under Horace Mann Agents. You type my name in, Azure, Azure. The last name is Celestine, Celestine, and it'll pop right up and tell you pretty much everything about me. You can get quotes for life insurance, auto insurance, homeowners, all of that, or start questions about investments. All of that's on my website. Mm-hmm. So as soon as you click my name, it pops up, and then go from there.
Cool.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nosy butt.